Good morning, everybody. Yep, we are live. Well, I'm live from home. Sims is in the studio. We're doing this on purpose as like a test. But I hope your Friday is off to a good start. Good morning, Simphiwe. How are you?
Good morning, Gareth. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. Very, very good. We've got a lot of exciting stuff on the show this morning, and I'm not just saying that. It's not spin. It's not trying to get people excited for no good reason. I'm absolutely sure the comment section is excited long before I come into the show or you come into the show. They start talking to each other at the break of day. So, all right, the reasons I'm excited, we've got finally, after how many weeks we've been talking about getting someone on who knows all the latest things about tech and gadgets and all the rest. And usually you're our person on the ground on this, but we've actually got Theunis van Rensburg coming on. He's a South African technology journalist and a data scientist. We've got so much to talk to him about. The latest stuff in phones, the latest stuff in internet speeds, the latest stuff in all kinds of exciting developments that I've been waiting to talk to him about. So he'll be joining us a little bit later on. Ben is joining us live from Spain, of all things. He's not on holiday. He flew out. It was yesterday or the day before. He flew out like last minute. Got an invitation to go and play golf in Spain. You know, it's nice. If that's what you love, if playing golf is your thing, as it is for Ben, then I suppose going out and playing golf is exactly what you want to be doing with your time. So he's going to be joining us online as well. And I also thought, because both of our guests are online, we've got to test out some new stuff too. So we're going to be doing that this morning. And then I have some stories for you that you're going to love. The first one of these stories, I love this. I can't help myself. Is a story about the library and the lighthouse of Alexandria. So, you know, Alexandria is a city in Egypt. It's on the Mediterranean coast. It was the site of the famous lighthouse, the Pharos of Alexandria. It was built during the Ptolemaic era in ancient Egypt. That was the era just after Alexander the Great, when his general Ptolemy went and established himself as the kind of new ruler of Egypt. And his dynasty was established afterwards. They were good and bad. So Simphiwe, they were Greek, but they ruled Egypt. They did a fairly good job. At least two of them were excellent at administration and running things properly and military order. And they made the place a center of learning and scientific discovery, all those cool things. But there were also a couple of weird things about them. They were almost all called Ptolemy or Cleopatra. The girls were all called Cleopatra. The boys were all called Ptolemy. And to make matters worse, they also married their brothers and sisters and produced offspring.
Table. That's
yeah, dodgy as hell, right? Yeah, so that's what we know about that era. It all started with Ptolemy the First. They called him Soter. And he was a very learned man. He was Alexander's friend and general during his conquests of some 23 to 30 years. And then they built something there. They built two really great things. Three, probably, is fair to say. First one was the lighthouse, which was on this piece of land that jutted out into the sea. This is the ancient world. They didn't have electricity. So how do you build a lighthouse that can be seen from far enough away that ships can start slowing down, so you can guide them into port, so that during rough seas you can send signals to the ships offshore? And obviously lighthouses now, we don't even need that much, because ships are so well put together with such advanced technology that now they can kind of figure out what's happening long before anyone on the land has to tell them. But when they built this lighthouse, they put a huge big furnace at the top of it, so they could make a massive fire, and they had mirrors and things, and it could be seen from miles and miles away. So it was quite an innovation for the ancient world. They've discovered 22 massive blocks from the lighthouse of Alexandria. They've been submerged for 700 years. As part of the Pharos project, they're digging them out. And the aim is to actually construct and digitally build the entire ancient wonder, once the tallest man-made structure in the world. So that's pretty cool. It was built around 280 BCE, as I told you just now, and destroyed by an earthquake in the year 1303. So it stood for quite a long time. It was virtually revived with the hopes of helping the public experience its lost grandeur in battle, rather better understand its historical construction. So they've done this. They did something amazing the other day, and this is not just for people who are interested in history, but also for people who care about architecture and art, and maybe you're a Catholic, and so this is special to you. But they've got a digital twin built of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. So if you go to a website, I'll see if I can find you the address before the end of the show, and we'll post it. You can actually go into St. Peter's Cathedral in Rome, and you can look at absolutely anything you want in unbelievable levels of detail. By the way, this would be the levels of detail that you would never have even if you went there in person and were given a guided tour, because you can spend time, as much time as you want. You can read inscriptions on things. You can look at the detail of polishing on marble all over the walls and floors. You can observe beautiful works of art. It's really quite something. And it's taken them, I think it was about 12 to 15 years to actually do this. But it is unbelievably detailed. And thanks to this, we'll never have to worry if something goes wrong. Let's say there's an earthquake in Rome and a small piece of plaster falls from the ceiling. They can always go back to this digital twin, which has every single piece of St. Peter's mapped out in like 4K. And they'll be able to say, okay, well, the line goes like that, like that, like that. And then they'll be able to repair it. Isn't that cool?
That's amazing. Like, I want to see it
Yeah.
now.
It's pretty wild. And the fact that you can look at that from your home is just incredible. So I don't know if you're as excited as I am about that stuff, but I think that's where technology is just blowing my mind. It's phenomenal.
No, I'm excited. That means I don't have to leave my house. I can like see different places and get a better view, as you said. Like, you know, sometimes you like plan these trips and you want to go touch things and see things, but because it's so ancient and fragile, like they don't allow you to touch it. You need to see it from 300 meters away and all of that.
Yeah.
Like now you get a real close up, and like that's amazing.
Well, we've got a couple of comments here. They should bring back the Colossus of Rhodes, but make it look like Jan Buchel. That's from Congo Chris. Just by the way, I know that James has been trying to get Jan Buchel, but Jan Buchel is ghosting James. He has not replied. He hasn't replied to any of James's messages. So I think James is feeling very slighted by that. Remember, he's the guy. There are probably a few people who are listening to this now going, who the hell is Jan Buchel? Well, Jan Buchel is the Hollandse zanger, wat de lieflijke liedje, which is called what? Rhodos, allemaal naar Rhodos, because obviously Colossus of Rhodes, because Chris knows these things and remembers. So he's the one who sings that song about, how does it go again, James? It goes, ik ga naar een warm land, eibers op vakantie, lekker bakken in de zon. That one, right? Now it's going to be stuck in my fucking head all day. So, speaking of songs that get stuck in your head all day, yesterday Gord Laws posted something that screwed up my whole day. Okay, so Sims, I love Gord too, but he's going to have to pay for this one. This is a disaster. So he was commenting on, there's this brilliant song that goes, my love has got no money, he's got his strong beliefs. You know that one? Old song, no, 90s kind of dance song. Well, more and more people just want more and more freedom and love. What you waiting for? You don't know it. Freed from desire, minded senses purifier. No? No?
Before matter.
No, okay. Well, no, okay, fine. You're missing out. Anyway, it's a good song. And he made this comment that before you had Google to search lyrics, you had to guess what the singer was singing, or if you were lucky enough, you could find some scrap of paper inside a cassette or a CD cover, and that was how you knew the lyrics. So
Yes.
For years, he thought the words, "My lover's got no money, he's got his trombolese." Okay, he thought a trombolese was what she was singing about, because he goes, "My lover's got no money, he's got his trombolese." Okay, because that's what he thought. So he's decided, and Gord is a genius with this stuff. He's decided now trombolese is an actual word, and it means, besides not having money, you're actually quite a lacquer person. So, so that would make all of us kind of trombolese. We have no money, but we're lacquer people.
Okay.
Okay. No?
I like that. Yes, that's true.
Trombolese, guys. Trombolese. I'm telling you, it's a thing. On Wednesday, you told us your audience were boring. Look who's boring today, not doing the show from home and boring about history on a Friday. Oh, for God's sake, limited edition. Why don't you just find another show to watch or listen to? I am not in the game of trying to compete with my audience or to compete with other people for audience. So just go. Just go. I really don't care. Wait, I'll give you 2 seconds. Hang on. Okay, I think he's gone or she's gone. It's fine. That's perfect. Anthony Fasaki says that was a real treffer. Dirk says she's Gen Z. That's you, Sims. She doesn't care about anything that happened before she was born.
I'm not Gen Z, but come on now. There's some songs.
Congo Chris is just telling James not to worry and not feel disheartened about Jan Bichel. He is op vakansie. So when he gets back from vakansie, then he'll answer James's message. So we can only hope. Bitcoin Bit says, if we had a lighthouse in our Alexandra, it would be looted.
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, so there's lots going on in the comment section. I also see, so I've got very exciting news on the blind history front. So I spoke to Anthony Medera the other day, and we will be launching a new season of Blind History in the next month. We're going to probably record our first episode before the end of July. So that's very exciting. And Ant and I will be back with new and fresh episodes. I think it'll be season 8 or even 9. I must go and check, but brand new episodes of Blind History coming. So what are you planning for the weekend, Simphiwe?
I got some work.
Work. That doesn't sound good.
Alley. Yeah, it doesn't. But we're going to be doing some shooting, and I volunteered to be kind of like an extra on set. So that's what I'm going to do.
Oh, wow. So you're going on TV, is it? Is this for a TV show, for some YouTube, or what?
I'm not even sure. I think Caroline still needs to give proper details, but it's something. I was like, I don't mind. I have a Saturday free. I'll pull up. I'll be an extra. They've told us what to
Is this for something we're producing? That's cool.
I think so. Yes. And so that's what I'm going to be up to this weekend. And then Sunday, just indoors, watch some movies because it's too cold to go out. Like, no.
Yeah, I think I've used every excuse I can to not have to go anywhere, just so that I can be warm. That's kind of my plan, because if you are, and particularly being on a set, you never know where it is. And, people who are putting productions together, they don't really care whether you're cold or not. They have shit to do. We've got to start recording at 6 a.m. or whatever, and it's not fun.
Yes, it's not fun, especially when they tell you what to wear, and you're just like, this is a bit too light, for the weather. Doesn't sound like winter clothes at all. And they're like, well, that's the look. And that's what we're gonna do. You're gonna show.
So listen, we've got a few tech stories that I want to save for when Theunis joins us later on. Apparently, Japan has set a new internet speed record, which is very exciting. But you've got something to tell us about Akon City, which has been abandoned. First of all, forgive me for being stupid about this, but what is Akon City?
Okay, so for those who might not know who Akon is, he's the guy who brought us the legendary song, Lonely, I am so lonely, I have nobody, all on my own. That guy, right? And he's from Senegal, if I'm not mistaken. And what
Right.
he decided to do like 7 years ago is announce that he's going to build the smart city and make a real life Wakanda, and he's going to be that guy that brings this new technology back to his home country, Senegal. We're like,
So
amazing.
this is
We
this
love it.
kind of,
You.
isn't this a lot like what our president Cyril Ramaphosa said in the One State of the Nation address, where he said, we're going to build a smart city near Lanseria. And I don't know about you, I've been to Lanseria a couple of times. I haven't seen any signs of a smart city. Seen a lot of dumb things, but no smart city. So our
Yeah.
president's even worse than Akon.
Yeah, it seems like they've been reading the same book because it's 7 years later and there's been like not even a tenth of the city built. And what's interesting with the story is that he picked a particular land where people had already occupied it, and so he kind of had to get the people out, and he promised them that, hey, when you guys come back, you'll be living in this place. It's going to look so much better. We'll pay for your accommodation wherever you're staying now whilst we build this, smart city. And how he got investment left, right, and center. But another big investment thing was crypto. And he was like, crypto is going to be the one thing that I invest all my money in, so that I use the money that I get from crypto to pay for this smart city. And we've seen how crypto has performed, and he's kind of lost lots of millions. But also people started coming out, I think 2-3 years ago, saying, hey man, like there's nothing happening, the city or the land is vacant. And he was like, no, we're busy, sounding like a very South African politician. We are busy, we're working, we're getting the job done. And 7 years later, he's finally come out to say, you know what, I can't do it, it's not going to happen, I'm sorry. So the smart city has been abandoned, just like that.
I'm very sorry to hear that, because I mean, any great idea you kind of get excited about. You can't help yourself. You're like, oh, okay, maybe they'll get this right, and it's going to be a walkaway success. And I see Bitcoin Bit saying that actually, this guy basically brought on a crypto coin called Akon, and he just mugged everybody of their money. So
that's what people are speculating. Yes, they're speculating that he basically bamboozled all his investors, and because you're selling the dream, like this is going to be the real life Wakanda in Africa, and this is how we're going to do it. So he did get investment. He got a different, and he was like, I'm going to do different businesses in order to fund this, and one of those was crypto, and he started his own crypto thing, Akon something, as Bitcoin is saying. But like that was the whole thing, to fund this. He was like, I'm starting this to make money here so I can fund the project. No one saw the money. 7 years later, gone.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people complaining even about President Trump, because he launched a couple of crypto tokens, and apparently they are doing moderately okay now, but the people who've invested are all kind of, and the ones who are making money out of it certainly, are like insiders. And I think you've just got to be, it's like anything else. You can't say crypto is bad. There are bad people in every business. You've just got to know that some of these people are there to rip you off and steal your money, and other people are there to create value for everyone. It's like you choose the bank you go to, you choose the investment company that you put your investments into, you choose your business partners, and you choose the kind of people you want to do deals with. Otherwise, you're going to find sharks in every direction. So whether or not Akon is one of those sharks, time will tell. But man, there's a lot of fucking crookery going around. I mean, this General Mkwanazi, right? We got to talk about this because we haven't really discussed it on the show.
A week. What a week.
I spoke to Warris about this because I actually don't know a whole lot about this story. And I thought Warris is very informed because he knows what the underworld is actually all about. He knows some amazingly connected people. He knows some very dangerous people. I was like, well, let me try and figure out what the hell's going on here. Anyway, he said to me, listen, the reality is it's criminals all the way down. There are people who owe people favors. Some of those people who owe other people favors are now in government. They've been in a position to offer other people high-ranking jobs in the police or important parastatal jobs, or they've been able to help their nephew or niece or daughter or cousin or whatever. And it's just crooks all the way down. So you've got people who owe people things who are now beholden, and they've got them by the balls. And so these very, very dangerous people who are probably involved in all kinds of other criminal activity, including the drug trade, poaching, robbery syndicates, hijacking syndicates, cash in transit heist people. These guys are all intermingled into parts of the police force. And now General Mkhwanazi, who clearly is either completely unafraid, A, B, very stupid, or C, believes it's time to just call out these guys, has done what appears to be the right thing. There are lots of people like Aubrey Mashiti who are calling out the ANC at the moment, saying this is all kind of like a setup for what's going to happen when Cyril leaves. They're busy positioning new people inside the party. But I don't know how you feel. I've seen this General Mkhwanazi speak for like the last 6 to 8 months. He's been very vocal about his job as KwaZulu-Natal Commissioner of Police. He's been on TV a couple of times saying his say. He's been in the media generally answering questions. I hesitate to declare anyone some kind of national hero before they've proven themselves, but he seems like the real thing. He seems like he's one of these people who genuinely wants to clean stuff up and make the country governable and better and put some bad guys in prison. So I don't know if I'm getting excited for nothing, but if he is what I think he is, we've got to support this guy because he's in real danger. First of all, some proper criminals, right? But he's doing something that I've said this before on the show. There are two qualities we're really missing in South Africa at the moment. Number one is drive. You know, those people who get up every morning and they've got to get out there and hustle. And there are a lot of people like that, but not enough. We need just millions of people with drive, the unbelievable capacity to wake up, get the day going, sell stuff, buy stuff, make stuff happen. I love those people. I don't know about you, but we need more of them. And the other quality we really need in this country, which is so scarce, is bravery, is courage. We need people who are brave, who will say what they actually think, who will stand up against authority, who will stand up against corruption, who will stand up against the decline of so much of what we see around us: streets, lighting, electricity, basic provisions, water. I mean, I'm looking forward next week. I don't know about other parts of Gauteng, but I'm looking forward next week to like a week of no water. They say it's maintenance. But, you know, there used to be a time where they would do this kind of maintenance and it didn't mean everybody had no water for a week. Like they had enough people to make it quick and easy, get in there, fix this pipe, reconnect that. They'd be able to do this in a fairly efficient way. They can't do it like that anymore. Now you have to get on with a week of no water at home, which is ridiculous because that's not only unsanitary, it's not only uncivilized, it's also very, very dangerous. Water is a basic human right. You need to have water at home. How else do you cook? How else do you wash things? How else do you wash yourself? How else do you flush your loo? You know, these are things that are very, very basic. And it seems to me that all of the people in this country, regardless of whether you're rich or poor, whether you are living in suburbia, in a township, or in the rural areas, everybody's just losing. And we need to be able to fix that. And courageous, brave people have to be the ones who say that. And this General Mkhwanazi seems to me to be a brave person. So what are your thoughts on him?
I'm actually quite happy that he's come forth and exposed what really happens. I'm not surprised that there's so much mafia interaction, if I could say that, in government, in this country. Like there's syndicates on syndicates on syndicates, and you realize for them to operate, they do need an inside man. And the inside man tends to be someone in government in a high position. Yeah. My only concern is did he think this out first before coming to the public and telling us about what's really happening? Because he is in danger, especially even if he's lying to us. They're always going to do something. Even if this is a big lie, something is going to happen. And if this is the truth, then then people want to protect themselves and make sure that like there's nobody speaking. So I do hope that he has planned this out, thought this through, and also has his own army of men who say, if he's taken out, it's fine, I'm going to step forth and continue with this thing. Because that's what you need, essentially. You do need an army of people who are going to be like, it doesn't matter if you take this guy out, we're still going to pursue this thing, we're still going to see justice for it, because that's the only way we're going to get real change. And he does need other people to support him. So yes, the ordinary South African can say well done, but he needs the people who are in those positions to also say, you know what, I'm heartful of this thing, I'm going to snitch, and these are the people A, B, C, D that have been doing this thing. Finish and start. That's it. And once we see that, we are gone as a country. We're going to see change.
Yeah, listen, I really hope he's got some bodyguards, and I hope he's paying attention to his own security, because you know what happens. I mean, we were talking about Didi Mabuza the other day, who I'm really not sad is dead, because I still have not found anyone, and I've asked everybody I could see, from the guy at the petrol station to politicians to political analysts. I'm trying to find someone who can tell me one good thing Didi Mabuza did. Most people go, who? And this guy was our deputy president. They put him in the ground last week. And by the way, I'm not just for sensation speaking ill of the dead or anything, but this guy was a real crook. There were two men. One was a councillor in Bombela who went missing. And there was one guy who was in the ANC in Mpumalanga, quite high up on the chain. And they both just disappeared. And then their bodies turned up later, and they were dead. They had been it had been made to look like they were either in car accidents or that they'd been shot by some, random person with a gun. But they were political assassinations. There's no other motive to kill these guys at all. And everybody at the time was saying, even though the inquest didn't ever come to any conclusive proof on this, that the man at the top of this, the guy who'd ordered it, was Didi Mabuza. Now, this guy was our deputy president, no less. So he was the second most important person in South Africa on the chain of command. And he was ordering political assassinations, if everyone is to be believed in terms of these stories. And remember, there were lots of investigative journalists trying to look into it. And then they were threatened. And they were told, someone's going to kill you if you keep scratching around here. So we do live in like a gangster state, right? And my assumption is, and I think this should be everyone's assumption from now on. I know we spend a lot of time like beating up on government, but trust me, when they do something good, I am only too happy to compliment them. What I've realized in the last while, and this is what we should all do from now on, just to save ourselves and our sense of kind of what this country is all about, and to keep yourself sane. I just assume anyone involved in government or anything who's dealing on behalf of government is a crook. I just assume they're crooked, they're 100% criminal. And then if they prove further on, because I will immediately have my wits about me. I'll know that this person is going to try and steal, they're going to try and kill, they're going to try and lie. I will assume the worst about them if they work for government. And that goes for everything from president right the way down to like some municipal official, okay? That way, if they surprise me along the way and they're actually a good person or a competent person, I'll be like, oh, wow, this is terrific. But if they don't, I won't be disappointed. Does that make sense?
I get you, 100%. It makes
so just
all
assume
the
you're
sense
dealing.
in the world.
Yeah, just assume you're dealing with a complete fucking crook, and you can't go wrong.
I like that. I also believe that our politicians should not have podcasts. I recently discovered that the DA now has a podcast, and I'm just like,
oh no,
this is what makes me not want to trust you guys, even if I wanted to. Because why do you now have a studio and mics, and you guys are interviewing each other about the work that you're doing? Stop talking, show us.
I completely agree with you. But remember, the DA are not the first ones to do this. The EFF had their own studio like 2 years ago already. You remember they were shopping around for microphones, but that was when Floyd and Buiseni and Dalimpofu and all of them were still there. Now it's just Julius. There's no point in him doing a show because he'll be talking to himself.
Yes, and even that when EFF, I was like, why? Stop talking, show us the work. The work will speak for itself, and then people who are political analysts, they'll invite you onto their show. Because all it's doing now and all it looks like is like this echo chamber of you guys like, yeah, we're doing good. Yes, you are doing good. We're doing great. Yes, we want to do that. It's like, shut up. You guys are just in your own bubble. Shut up and actually go to work.
Yeah.
Stop the podcast. I'm with you. Gareth, last week you're like, people must stop with podcasts. When's the cutoff date again? Because, wow, it's enough.
It's the end of this month, Simphiwe.
Stop. Yeah, I agree. It's done. Pelile, Stedile, Asifuna ukuva lutho, bazalwane, stop. Everybody, politicians, celebrities, rappers, the Gen Zs, the wannabes, the upcoming, the has-beens, everybody, like, stop.
All right. I believe Ben is on the line, so let us go live to Spain. Good morning, Ben.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, testing. We can hear you. How's it, Ben?
That's so good. Wow, guys, what's happening your side? Are you not
Are
together?
You in a gown?
Of course.
No, but hang on.
If I'm in a hotel, I'm in a gown.
No, we decided we're going to test this out. We've got an online guest today, and we were worried about our internet at the studio yesterday. But I want to know how you are here if you were recording on the bounce just 2 days ago. What happened in between? You got like a last-minute invitation to something cool?
Yeah, guys, when I say something cool, like the coolest, I am currently in Andalusia. So live golf is a really important thing in sports. Well, I mean, look, maybe not really important, but it's a very, very cool thing. So they have events all around the world, and I got invited through two of us to come and just be here for the week, which kind of coincides with an episode we're about to do on the Bounce show around live golf. So what it's like to actually be here, what the event is all about. And the great thing is that it's at a golf course that I've wanted to go to since I was a wee child. We're going to Valderrama today. So it'll be Valderrama today, tomorrow. So 3 days. Wow. Guys, I don't know if I could be happier right now as a human being. I've just woken up outside of my window here. I can see the Rock of Gibraltar. It's we're right on the coast. Bit of a long travel day to get here. So Doha, Malaga, and then a bit of a bus drive. But we're here, and I got a bit stuck last night. A little bit the first night exuberance from the group, but we're at this hotel. We're the first people ever stay at the hotel as well. So I'm the first person to be in a gown in this room.
Oh wow! So it's brand new.
It's super, super special. So I'm filming some content as well. So there'll be lots of videos and things about what I'm doing this weekend, which I'll catch you up on when I get back. But yeah, just happiest of places.
All right. Well, we know you've got a full day of exciting Andalusian golf and other things involved. So let's get into sport in South Africa. What do we have this weekend? I believe the Springboks are in PE. Am I right?
Yeah. Going to Gqeberha for Willie Leroux's 100th test. So Willie's had some detractors over the years, of course. Some people say he's cuck, outwardly just say he's cuck. And some people say he's an absolute sporting maverick. So depending on where you sit in that spectrum between there, I mean, whether you're a Taddy in Velkorb who's going to shout and scream at the TV tomorrow, or someone who's just always loved the way he plays. He started his career against Italy. He's now getting his 100th cap against Italy. I mean, Vinny's been through it all here. A career spanning 12, 13 years. The guy's won 2 World Cups. He's finished third in another one. British and Irish Lions Test Series winner. He's played a staggering 20 times against the All Blacks. So this guy's career is something to really be impressed by. His success rate is 69% in the Bok jersey. It's cool to see milestones like this if you love sports and obviously if you love the team. So that'll be 5:00 on Saturday. Of course, last week, people were mostly disappointed with the Boks because they felt like there was going to be a big score at the ground It didn't materialize. The second half, in fact, they lost 21-14 to Italy, basically. Italy didn't have their full-strength backline, still have a decent pack, and they pretty much came here to spoil the Springboks sort of play and be a bit more sort of like, disruptive. So I don't think that's going to work this week for them. I think it was a good strategy last week on the high felt. It definitely blunted the Boks. But I reckon with Russie's, 11 changes to the team this week, including Villy coming back at fullback, I think we're going to see a much more fluent and fluid Bok performance here. Grant Williams and Mani Libbok being the 9 and the 10 is also going to make a big difference, I think, to what this backline does. And the forward pack, if you just look at that, I think that's the heaviest front row the Springboks have ever put on. Thomas du Toit, I think, weighs about 130 kilograms. Wilco Low weighs about 144. And then Malcolm Marx is a skinny guy in the middle at about 116. So, good team. It's a really good team. It's an exciting bench coming through. So, that'll be at 5. Other big rugby for the weekend. Wales currently are on the cuckest losing streak of all time, basically. They've lost 18 test matches in a row. Now, Wales used to be bloody good at rugby, like bloody good. In the 70s, when men were men, they probably had the best international team, which was the backbone of the best of British and Irish Lions team. And even in the early 2000s, they were pretty good when Gatlin was okay at what he was doing. Wales used to have a lot of guys who were basically farmers' kids or good DNA from the mines. And then now they're just basically orange and play football. So they haven't got the stock they used to. They just don't. I mean, one of the biggest stories of Welsh rugby in recent times is that their star wing went to the NFL. So, sorry, Wales. So now they're playing in Japan. So last week, Japan dicked them. Totally. Like, okay, we're playing Wales. These oaks are pasty. We're going to play them in the heat. And Wales were good in the first half, and then they just basically got sapped out from there. So they'd lost 18 test matches in a row. They're looking to break that streak. I think it's 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, Saturday. If you really want to see misery at a car crash, Wales are playing Japan. After that, France are going to be playing New Zealand. So France were damn good last week against New Zealand. Very, very narrow win for the All Blacks, despite playing essentially a C French team. That French team's got a couple of extra players that will bolster this team this week. So that'll be a really good game. It's going to be super tight. And then they'll be at 9. And then the British and Irish Lions tour, they are playing a New Zealand-Australian sort of invitational team at the Adelaide Oval. They should win that because this invitational team, it looks a lot like a Barbarians team. It's not particularly strong. It won't be particularly well gelled. So they'll win that one. But then, guys, obviously Wimbledon's the big thing for the weekend because we're now in the finals.
Hang on. Before you move on to tennis, you still haven't told us about your experience at Loftus last week because you went to watch the Boca and Italy. How was it? Were you on the West Pavilion? Like, give us the detail here.
No, Gareth, I'm not at West Pavilion. I'm at the stage now where I'm more a grandstander. I've put my time in the West Pavilion. I've earned my stripes. I've definitely got the scars to prove it. No, it's cool, but the thing about Bok rugby right now, I think expectation is at the highest level possible, and people go there expecting absolute fireworks and something special. And quite frankly, at the ticket prices that people are paying, they believe they should get a bit more. And last week's game was a bit flatter than usual, especially that second half. And the weird thing is that it's hard to have a flat Bok experience because everyone's about 8 or 9 brandies in. So the crowd's up for it. But the way they played last week was just a bit shite. But, Loftus being Loftus on the B fields pre and post game, it is, and I always said, like, if you're a Cape Townian and you think the Cape Town Stadium's really great or you've done quite a lot, you've got to make the pilgrimage, the Afrikaans pilgrimage to Loftus Versfeld. It's such a beautiful, it's a work of art. It really is. Because it's always that balance between being, it's like nice, but it's also kind of dingy. It's like, it's at that perfect sweet spot where you don't feel shitty about it, but you feel relaxed because it's so unpretentious. Yeah, you have to go to Loftus at some stage of your life. I don't care if it's even for like a URC game, whatever it may be. It's great. I will continue to go there. And the thing about being in Joburg is that because Ellis Park is such a crack den, it's hard for Joburgers to get really excited about a local stadium. So Loftus is a small car train trip away, and then before you know it, there you are.
Ellis Park is such a crap den.
I mean, the thing about that is that they'll dress Ellis Park up once a year for mock tests, and credit to them, like all the sort of zombies and meth addicts, they kind of get pushed about a 2-kilometer buffer, which is quite a feat of engineering, really. There's guys with shambox and all kinds of stuff. They make it doable.
All right, let's talk about Wimbledon, because this is, to me, also one of those things that makes winter slightly bearable. I'm not a big tennis fan, but everyone, even if you don't care about tennis, you get into Wimbledon. You just have to sit in front of the TV for a couple of minutes, especially towards the semi-finals, quarterfinals even, and it draws you in. It's very exciting.
Yeah, so last week I referred to the women's side of things like cats on crack, and I stick with it, Gareth, because, I mean, if you look at the women's draw, it eventually got to the semis yesterday, where Iga Swiatek, she's a past champion, the Polish woman. She's the 8th seed, and she played a Czech called Bencic from Switzerland. 6-2, 6-love. I mean,
sure.
we're at the business end. We're at the business end of things, right? And you telling me, I mean, it's so odd, like, especially on grass. Like, it's all over the place. It really is. 6-2, 6-love for a semi-final of Wimbledon. I mean, if you were really banking on seeing this, getting your money's worth in centre court yesterday, that was a quickie. And then this chick called Anisimova, she like failed to qualify in previous years. She then got to the semi-finals versus Aryna Sabalenka, who we said was going to be the favorite. I mean, she's bigger and stronger than the rest. And Sabalenka, again, in a Grand Slam this year, she has now melted. So she lost the semi-final 6-4, 4-6, 6-4. So at least it was a good game. But yeah, Sabalenka, she got into the past 2 Grand Slam finals, and now she's out of this one.
Yeah, there were a couple of good games. I caught a little bit of that Swiatek game yesterday, but I saw Hugh Grant fell asleep at Wimbledon. Now, I just love Hugh Grant even more now, because imagine having tickets to Wimbledon, but you just couldn't give a fuck, and you have a doo-doos while you're there. I mean, the guy is just, to me, that is a sign of absolutely being so comfortable in the world that you can just have a sleep while the greatest tennis in the world is taking place in front of you. I love it.
It does make me nervous for my 50s, though, because if you're just like clapping a little dos, because he's there by intention. He's not exactly in his lounge, like he's actually out in public, and he's just.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so have you got any idea of who to kind of pip for the post in terms of the men? Because you've mentioned the women now, but what about the men at Wimbledon? Who are we looking at? Obviously Alcaraz, obviously Sinner.
Yeah, so it's kind of gone to form. I would say obviously gone to seedings, and that's what you really want. Right now, as we said in the French Open, it was the passing of the baton. It was the first time the 2 finalists weren't born in the 90s. We had 2 young guys, Sinner and Alcaraz, together, and they're in the semi-finals. So Alcaraz will be taking on Taylor Fritz. He's a 5th seed American guy. He should get through him. And then the other one, the big sentimental crowd favorite one, will be Sinner versus Djokovic. So Djokovic is hanging on there on pure experience, muscle memory, and fierce. He's 38. Sinner is much, much younger. So you would expect the Alcaraz-Sinner final to take place this weekend on Sunday. And in many ways, it'll be the best thing for it. But there's always that thing about Wimbledon. It's like a massive pantomime. It's like, so one thing of, but can the past champ, the guy who's on his last legs, can he come through? It's a very British sort of story. So if you like that, then today from like 4 o'clock on Centre Court, you'll be able to watch the Sinner Djokovic semi-final, which will be the big highlight. And then, yeah, I mean, I would definitely say Sinner Alcaraz, it was the greatest game any of us have seen, that French Open final. And if they can do something similar on grass, it really is going to be a special weekend for tennis.
A couple of comments here for you, Ben. Ben, how was that brandy cooler in the bus? You should have warmed up with a shower beer. You can't just hit Brannas at 11 a.m. on an empty tank. Does he know something about your experience in Spain?
No, he's talking about my Loftus experience. Right. As mentioned, had a couple of beers in the car park.
Right.
And for me, brandy's just pre-game. So line the stomach with the beers, get there, but then just before you're about to go, actually walk into the grandstand. That's when your liquid goes dark, and that's when you really kick one. But on the way back, on the way back, we basically had 3 bottles of brandy that didn't last long, between 12, 15 of us.
Yes.
Hugh was probably pissed on champagne as well at Wimbledon. That's Hugh Grant. I just love him. He was complaining the other day about something I want to ask both of you about. Why, and Simphiwe, you do this. What is with people carrying around bottles of water? Are they worried they're going to run out of water? Does your bottle keep, in your case, I think it just keeps it cool, right? And you like really cold water. So I kind of understand that if that's your explanation. But he was saying his kids have to go to school with these big bottles of water. And he's like, what, is there no water at school? That was something Hugh Grant was talking about the other day. It's also a very old man thing to moan about stuff like that. But why has it become almost like a status symbol to have your bottle of water with you and then sip on it through a straw or knock it back in like work or on public transport? What's that all about?
I think, just taking me out of it, the reality is that we as a generation now live in like this experience economy, right? And because things are getting so expensive, how you used to show off that you had money has changed, right? And now one of those things is being able to afford like expensive water bottles. Like the reason why the kids want to have those water bottles is because it's a Stanley, most probably. Like if we look at it, it's not because you just want a regular no-name brand. It's because you want, something that we've seen is quality, it's expensive, it has the status of like, oh, you can afford this. But also another thing I know for me.
So it's just a flex. Is that what you're saying?
It is a flex. It's the new flex, and we could even look at it in terms of how like Louis Vuitton and other brands have diversified how luxury gets access to people, right? It's no more the bags because people can't afford the bags anymore. So now they've opened up these cafes where now you can have a taste of luxury. Like you can buy coffee. You might not afford the bag, but hey, I can afford the coffee, which costs like 10 times more than what a coffee should be. And you start bragging about that. You start bragging about the fact that I can afford the Louis Vuitton cake. And I went there and I had the taste of luxury. And that's basically the era that I'm living in. So, and now the water bottles are the new flakes.
So Ben, to tie this to sports people, do the sports people have some responsibility in making us, because I mean, we're talking about tennis just now. They have branding on everything, the water bottles, the cooler box, the snacks they eat, the wristband they got on, the everything that they wear obviously is branded. And maybe for poor people and for people who really have nothing to flex about, if they buy one or two of these cheap things, it makes them feel better about themselves.
I guess. Gareth, I sent something to James about this whole water bottle thing and how comical it's become. But
yeah,
look, I always think it's great if people drink more water. Amazing, but it has gone too far because now, as Sim said, it's now a status thing to have. It's a very odd thing that your status should come through your hydration, which is the most basic of human functions. It just doesn't make much sense to me. But if you are drinking an extra 2 liters a day, maybe it's
maybe if it's actually sitting there. No, sure. Maybe if it's sitting in front of people, they'll actually do it. I used to buy Voss water, says Bitcoin, but in America because it's glass. Now it's marketed to those who want to brag. Yeah, I remember the first time I saw Voss water was in Dubai airport on the way somewhere, and I thought, wow, what a nice bottle. It was glass and had this nice gray top, and I thought I need to all my water bottles in the fridge because I like very cold water, just like Simphiwe. I'll see if I can get some Voss water. Well, it was unbelievably difficult to find those. Now I see them being sold in shops, but they're plastic, so it's not as cool. So I don't want them anymore.
Yeah, you pay a lot of money for plastic water. It's like those Fiji water. It's a lovely idea, but it's also in shitty plastic nowadays.
Listen, how much do those
You're
Fiji
paying.
waters cost? Because I saw like I think it was over 100 rand for a bottle.
I saw a bottle of 120 recently.
Wow!
And I tell you what, it's not different to anything else really. But even if that water has come out of the arsehole of a unicorn,
are you sure, Ben?
If you, yeah. But if that
now,
water is.
Take a lot is saying it's 1.5. I mean 1.1. 1,101.
For one bottle?
One bottle.
No, okay, no, sorry. Okay. It's a 24
pack of 10.
But if you bought 24, it'll cost you 1,100 rand on Take a Lot.
Sims, I'm going to ask. When did society become so poor that we referred to thousands as 1 point? Because that was the way you referred to a million. And then with inflation and Cyril maths, people now go, oh yeah, he got like 1.4 for it, and he means thousand. You want to know how bad inflation is? Would that becomes part of like the dialect?
Yeah, we cooked, Ben. I told you we cooked. Like it's just going.
Well, I see. Anyone remember VAWTER in the early 2000s? VAWTER was like a vodka-infused water or something. Remember that?
I love those. Those were great. I used to work for the company that made those.
When I was still underage.
No, that's nice. I wish they'd bring something like that because girls don't know what to drink, and you don't really want to see girls knocking back double brandies. It's very undignified.
Yeah, not at first. But yeah, I mean, you get those hard seltzers now, which have taken that sort of space.
Based on past performance, says Christian, Carlos Alcaraz is the favorite to win, given his recent Wimbledon titles and strong 2025 form, though Novak Djokovic remains a significant contender. All right, so Christian wants to take your job, Ben, as a sports commentator, judging by that comment.
Yeah, so
what is
Alcaraz,
your take?
I think he's defending champ. He's got those attributes to see, like, he basically looks like if Pete Sampras was a gymnast and was on Ritalin. Like he's got so many amazing qualities to him on that surface. And even though points don't go as long on grass, they finish a lot quicker. His ability to just go at every single ball is quite demoralizing against other players. So you think you've got a winner, but then he's so fast on his feet, he'll get there. He hasn't got the big booming serve of someone who's been a Wimbledon champion in the past, just because he's not as tall. But yeah, it's hard to see someone beating Alcaraz. I really do. And also, it's the similarities between like tennis and MMA is that you get some fighters who are phenomenal in the first few rounds, but if you take them into the later rounds, they just gas out. And we saw that with Sinner at the French Open. He's never won a match that's gone over, I think, 3.5 hours or 3 hours. So you take him to those deep waters on those skinny legs, and then, yeah.
That's a very, very cool description of him, Pete Sampras on Ritalin, the gymnast's body. But here's a question for you from the other side, something else that we haven't actually brought up today at all. What is your take, Ben, from Carol Jean? She says, what is your take on Horny Horner and his leaving Red Bull? Because obviously Formula One is on people's minds, not only because there's always Formula One on the go, but the movie just came out and everybody tells me it's brilliant and we've got to go and see it.
Well, guys, okay, well, we've got a couple of minutes for this one. Yeah, look, I think if your last name's Horner, you've got to try keep in the pants. Otherwise, people are going to have a field day when allegations come out. So, yeah, Horny Horner, who's married to Ginger Spice.
Oh,
who, if you're not old enough, she was a Spice Girl. He married Jerry Halliwell.
Oh,
and he's been the team principal at Red Bull for quite a while, so much so that he's actually had like 2 golden eras within that. There was the one with the German guy. I forget his name now, but they won a few titles with I'm forgetting his name now. German guy. And then obviously now with Verstappen, they've done so bloody well, but the team is going backwards. It's very Max dependent. And now I think they've given Horner the flick for a couple of reasons. Look, he was cleared of being a horny old bastard, but some of the WhatsApps have come out, and basically he was inappropriately WhatsApping young girls on the Red Bull sort of team. Like to the point saying that he's been thinking about these girls and now he's knocking one off in his plane. It got a bit spicy. But like I said, he was officially cleared of any wrongdoing there. But I think they wanted him out. And if you mix performance with horndoggery, ultimately it becomes a very slippery slope. And now he's out in his arse. But the whole thing about Max wanting to leave Red Bull is another part of the story which isn't exactly great for the team. And the fact that no one else can drive the car other than Max has made the team really shitty. So yeah, I would say it's in a lot of drama around that team right now. Horner getting the sack is maybe like 50% of it. But yeah, I stand what I said to start with. You can't throw it around no matter who you are. If you're going to be a dirty old man with a young woman, it's going to come back and haunt you. And that's where he is, unfortunately. Yeah. He'll be falling asleep at Wimbledon next year. Let's just say that.
Well, there's a couple of comments here. Horner should have left 18 months ago, says Dirk. When the first sex allegations started, it was downhill from there, and the Verstappen family has a lot of influence in Red Bull. The person you were thinking about is Sebastian Vettel, I think, Ben.
Yes, sorry, Sebastian Vettel.
And then Nunya Biz says, I loved Sporty Spice. Well, there was a Spice Girl for everyone. Who were there? There was Ginger. I don't know if she was anyone's favorite, but Ginger Spice. Well, Jerry Halliwell.
She had the biggest boobs, Gareth. So she was the one that was going to get the young boys to be excited about that.
Okay.
There was a massive.
Then there was Sporty Spice. Then there was
as Sporty
Scary
was
Spice.
Scared is Spice.
Scared.
Oh fuck! The 90s were awesome.
Yes. Simphiwe, you won't know any of this, but this is like... All right, so there's Scary, Sporty, Ginger, Posh, and Bear.
And Baby. Bear this back. And with the amount of pedos in Britain, I guess, again, the demographic was being fulfilled there.
All right, this is great. I'm starting. It's all coming back to me now. All right, so basically, Jerry Halliwell married that guy. That's amazing. I honestly didn't think she'd ever find a husband. That's great. Has Scared Spice ever found a husband?
She had a kid with Eddie Murphy, didn't she?
Yeah, she
was. She wasn't. I don't think they ever got married, but yeah, she I think had one or maybe even two scary kids with Eddie Murphy.
All right, we can. Okay, Sugar Spice and everything nice says Sugar Shabalala. Well, that's your name, so you would go with that. Oh my God, Ginger was the freckled spice, according to Viasan this morning. Yeah. Okay. So
part of being ginger.
This is great. Thank you, Ben. Enjoy Spain. I think it's terrific that you get to go on this live golf experience, and let us know how it goes next week when we see you back in studio.
Just living my life, guys. Yeah. So
living your best life.
I'm very disoriented, but yeah, obviously I'm here. So today's Friday. Going to be on the golf course. It's going to be amazing. If you do like golf and you like those kind of things, follow me on Instagram. I'll be uploading a lot.
Awesome. All right, Ben, thank you. And Sims and I will be back in the next couple of minutes to take you into tech. We haven't spoken about gadgets and technology for a long time. It's time we catch up, see whether we've been missing anything. Because these days, I got to tell you, I'm just waiting for some breakthrough thing, like where this phone can charge from the air, or you don't have to use a million accessories to get it to do the things that it's meant to do. Let's see. We'll speak to Theunis. He's our guy when it comes to tech, and we'll find out all about what the latest developments are in all kinds of things, not just gadgets, not just the internet, not just AI, but lots of places, including some pretty horrific things coming out of Grok at the moment that have got people second guessing whether AI is actually intelligent at all. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Don't go anywhere.
Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass and I'm homebound. Making my way downtown, walking fast.
that was already in my mind. I want to be the boss, you know. Like I said it in my interview. I had an interview, my first newspaper interview when I was 8 years old on the Sunday World. It was the second edition, the second printed edition of the Sunday World. And I mean, I guess they're still around, and a lot of newspapers have fallen off since. I said I'm going to grow up to be Puff Daddy. My heroes are Leonardo DiCaprio and Puff Daddy, but more so Puff Daddy.
So when did you become
Puff Daddy?
Puff Daddy? That's what we want to know.
From that moment, from that
Daddy.
moment, because I started, you know, writing songs, making music, you know, making beats. I got the software that
So
could
producing,
allow you
you
to
actually
arrange.
started
Yeah,
learning
with a
it.
computer. Yeah.
Okay,
So
doing
like,
it yourself. Okay.
like think about it like this: we kids who started, like, remember I told you at my primary school, we were already programming computers. We were making our own games. Like we'd sit, make our own games. You know what I mean? Like we'd hack into networks. We'd be able to download things of certain sites.
So what does that digital identity actually mean? Is it just about more secure logins, or is it something more transformative?
Digital identity is just a way that you as a consumer can prove that you are who you say you are, and there's many ways of doing that, and there's quite innovative ways that companies in the digital identity space are trying to achieve that, which I can talk to you about in a minute. But yes, it's just, you know, instead of whipping out your smart ID or a paper passport or something like that, digital ID is simply being able to prove who you are in some sort of digital manner.
All right, so welcome back. We are live this Friday morning. It's already the 11th of July, but we're at the weekend, which means it's better than a Monday. We will we'll get to that one eventually. Theunis van Rensburg will be joining us shortly. He is a seasoned South African technology journalist and data scientist, and he knows everything to do with new products, industry trends, emerging innovations in the digital space, and so much more. So I'm excited that he'll be part of the show this morning. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. If you've got questions for him, let us know too. Simphiwe is with us. She is in Joburg, and Ben was just with us in Spain. So we really are going all over the place. I think Theunis is in Cape Town. So we've jumped around the whole world. By the end of the show this morning, you will have exercised thousands of kilometers of sky miles, right? Good news. Don't you think, Sims? You come and join us for 2 hours, you travel all over the place.
Yes, I love it. You know, let's go see the world together.
Four different locations in one morning. All right, so we got to talk about this quickly because I think this is probably interesting and useful to all of us. I don't know if it's going to save us any money, but it's going to be. I mean, it's a long time coming, and I do think this is very smart on the part of Temu. We often talk about Temu on the show. I've ordered stuff, you've ordered stuff, Ben's ordered stuff. We've all talked about this for a long time. And there's plenty that they sell, which is actually really good value for money because they make it cheap. Some of it is great quality, some of it's shitty, but you take your chances, right? And I've got to say, I've become a massive fan of Temu. I probably do, where I used to use Amazon, I used to use eBay. I just can't trust those guys to deliver the way that I do Temu, because the stuff arrives maybe 2.5 weeks after I've ordered it, which is not bad.
Yeah.
But they're opening up a warehouse in South Africa, offering even faster delivery, under 2 days, for items that are marked as local. This marks the first major domestic expansion for Temu since entering the market in January 2024. With its aggressive pricing and gamified marketing drive that is seeing rapid growth, Temu has faced backlash for exploiting tax loopholes that undercut local businesses. In response, SARS has revised its import tax rules, introducing stricter VAT and duty regulations from late 2024 to curb unfair advantages and recover tax losses estimated 3.5 billion. So let me just explain this because this irritates me and it'll probably irritate anyone else too. What you're doing is SARS put up the taxes on Temu stuff, right? Who do you think benefits and who loses from that?
We lose out because I think we have to now start paying more on items. And obviously a business is there to make money. So Temu is still going to make money because they're just going to push up their markups. That's it.
So Temu makes more money, SARS makes more money, we pay more money. Does that seem like SARS is doing something for local business?
No. And everything is going up. Can they stop increasing the cost of goods? Just stop. Can we get a break? Can we just get a break?
Let's just go over, I want to go over this again until everyone in this country understands how they're being fucked. Okay? You pay more. You also pay more taxes and duties because SARS makes more money. Now, the government is not taking that 3.5 or 3.8 billion that they call a tax loophole and putting it into stimulating local businesses and helping the local manufacturing industry. They're not. They're just putting that straight into Treasury, which then gets stolen by politicians. So more taxes, higher prices for you. Temu carries on doing business at exactly the same rates they always have. They're not being punished. Nothing's changed for them. The only people who get punished are us. We lose. SARS wins. Temu stays the same. Local businesses lose. Doesn't sound to me like a very good deal. I reckon the biggest problem here, and I did order some stuff about 3 weeks ago from them, and I noticed that the cost of the goods is now almost equivalent to the amount that you have to pay in taxes and customs and duties. So I don't know, maybe it's not worth me buying from them either anymore. Maybe I just won't buy anything. Maybe I'll just try and save what little money I've got so that when Donald Trump's massive tariffs kick in on August the 1st, I won't lose everything I have.
Yeah, that one is also still coming. Oh, yeah, what a time to be South African. And I don't know if you saw what Cyril had to say about that. Like, he was just like,
oh God, what did he have to say?
As the people who are part of the BRICS thing, don't like, he shouldn't do that. I was so like, oh, guys, we are in trouble here.
This guy, you know, I was thinking about it yesterday, and I saw Ramon Kavanagh on Twitter said, or X, I still call it Twitter, just get over it if you're one of those people who's a stickler for this stuff. I saw him say, you know, when Cyril came in, and I remember this, Simphiwe, you might remember it too. This is the last bit of politics for the morning, but I've got to get it off my chest. When he came in as president, people they were genuinely hopeful. They were like, this guy's going to change things. He's a clever guy, comes from the business world. He's going to be decisive. He has a chance here to really change the country. Then, of course, even a second opportunity was given to him with COVID, because everybody thought, oh my God, you know, this is a pandemic. We'll do anything. At this point, the president can cut the government in half. He can change the rules. He had opportunities there too to completely reform South Africa. And he could have taken an axe to like lots of things that were costing the country a huge amount of money. Instead, he just pissed away opportunities and he just sat there. It was inaction. It was indecisiveness. It was being shocked by everything. It's so disappointing because this guy could have done so much.
Yeah, he's the definition of like, you had so much potential. Like, that's one line I hate hearing when someone's like, oh, you have so much potential. And that's him. That's our president. That's Cupcake, where we look and we're like, you know what?
Yeah. You
could have been that guy. You could have been that guy. We had faith in you. We trusted you at some point. And now I'm just like, oh, but every time he speaks, I want to roll my eyes. I'm just like, can he just retire already? Can we have somebody else? But hey, the next guy in line, I don't have faith in him as well. So it's just like, where to from here? But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Congo Chris says 2 months ago, he ordered 5 picture frames. He received 2 frames for pictures and 3 pictures of frames. Oh
I don't know
man.
if I've shared this, but Senna once upon a time ordered a whole washing machine on Temu, right?
Uh-oh.
And
Uh-oh.
2 weeks later, it arrived. Oh, Bandla. Did she get
What
a
was
washing
it?
machine? Yes. Do you know what size it was? This
No.
Ikanini, it can take one item at a time. And when she looks back at the advertisement, they really sold it like this massive thing. Yeah, that you could buy for 800 Rand. It's just this beginning of a thing. this small bucket that can take one item at a time.
Oh my God.
So yeah, be
Sugar
careful
Shabbat.
also some of the things you order on Temu. Please
Yeah,
double check.
you have to
triple
be
check.
careful. I mean, listen, there are, just like in every place, there are crooks and sharks who are trying to get your money. So they're going to be people who have a picture of a picture frame. And I don't doubt that there are baddies on there who are selling that stuff. It's not like it's one big company and everything. They have different people who manufacture different stuff all over China who sell through Temu. It's not, they don't make everything in the Temu factory. They make it in different factories and then Temu just sells it to us.
Yes.
But there are really good things on there. I mean, I honestly think, and I know people are big fans of Shein as well for their clothes, and I get it. I mean, why would you want to go to the local store and be ripped off? I was talking to someone the other day who, this guy sells really, really fancy, like Lagerfeld shirts and things, right? And he says he can charge 3,000 Rand for a t-shirt and people will pay it because it's branded that way. And good for him. If people are dumb enough to do that, then I wish him luck. But I don't give a shit what labels on my, I don't want a label on my t-shirt. I will buy 15 of the same t-shirt online, and if they fit nicely, I'm A for away for like 6 months. That's all I want.
Yeah, I think you and I are the same. There is like one or two things that I'm very brand conscious about, and I'm like, I refuse to buy cheap quality. Like I refuse my handbags, I refuse my purses, I refuse.
Yeah.
Those are the two items that I'm just like, I don't care if I spend 3,000 Rand on this item. But everything else, like a jean is a jean is a jean.
Yeah.
You know,
but I do
top
agree
is a
with you.
top.
Like with really quality things that you need to last a long time, that actually matter, where you worry about, you know, because it costs you more than a couple of 100 Rand, let's say even a couple of 1,000 Rand, you don't want it to like start falling apart after month 2. Otherwise you've wasted your time. And I think certain things you have to spend money if you want quality, because the brand is supposed to carry that guarantee of quality with it, right? Otherwise, why would you buy that damn thing? I see Richard says, same thing happened to my dad. He bought an anvil for his workshop. When it arrived, it was a paperweight. Yeah, sorry, this shit happens. It does. Maybe you order like what you think is a stove or an oven or a air fryer, but it turns out it's for a doll's house. You know, so it's not going to do you any good. All right. So apparently there's a comment on the screen about the bike scandal. So the Eastern Cape bike scandal refers to the controversial procurement of 100 motorcycles with sidecars by the Eastern Cape Department of Health. I remember this story. These were initially presented as scooter ambulances intended to transport patients in rural areas, but were later revealed to be unsuitable for that purpose. The project faced criticism for being a poorly conceived and potentially wasteful use of public funds. Yeah, I remember that. So whoever made that comment in the comment section, you're right. There was a disgusting story of wastage, but that thing, for the few million that it cost, is nothing compared to the waste that we've seen in other places, like with the trains that didn't fit on the tracks. I mean, do me a favor. There are so many examples of just unbelievable waste. And those are the things we know about. Can you imagine the ones that we don't know about, that they've covered up, that they've hushed up, that someone's been paid off for? There's probably plenty of that going on too.
Oh,
all right.
And then also what's to come is the national dialogue. And it's just like, why is that so?
Okay, so
that
are you
700 million.
How excited are you on a scale of 1 to 10 about the national dialogue?
it doesn't need to take place. I'm not excited at all. You guys are just, Cyril's going to be surprised that there's problems in the country. Other people are going to be like, give me the tender, I can do it. Like, somebody's going to get this tender for the 700 million. That's also another thing, that somebody's going to walk away with a lot of money. And they're like, oh, it's okay. It's fine. I like it here. Oh.
You're right. That's exactly what he's going to do. So he mentioned that he's going to be addressing the country on Sunday night. So if you have nothing to do on Sunday and you really, I mean, you just like nothing to do, you can't even be bothered to wash the dishes or pack your bag for Monday at work, or I don't know, make a cup of tea. If you really can't be bothered to do any of that stuff and you are bored, the president will be addressing the country about the allegations made by General Mkhwanazi on Sunday. One of those family meetings. And you know what? He hasn't given us a time. Or if he has given us a time, you don't have to believe it, because we know for a fact that he's never on time. Every time the president has ever, he was even late for the White House, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he pitched up late to meet the president of the United States. Like, this guy he can't even discipline himself to be on time for a meeting with his own people. So every time we had a meeting with him during COVID, you remember all of those, I don't think he was ever on time for any of those. Do you?
Oh,
do you remember?
No, not at all.
So,
not at all.
You know what? Someone told me a long time ago that when you don't pitch up on time for a meeting with someone, that's because you have no respect for them. So this guy does not respect us, and I'm not surprised. That's it. We're not going to talk about him anymore. I do want to move on to some other stuff. So let's go to Theunis. I'm very excited to have him on the show this morning. He is, Theunis van Rensburg is a seasoned South African technology journalist and a data scientist, and he has been best known as the co-owner and writer at Bandwidth Blog, a true tech enthusiast. He's also known for deep dives into all kinds of things that we really love talking about, like new products and emerging innovations, all kinds of industry trends. Here he is. Theunis, nice to have you on, man.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. So tell us, because this has been a long time coming. Are there things to be excited about in the world of technology, and particularly because most of us are just consumers? What new things are available online for us to take and buy and take advantage of and look at and incorporate into our lives? Or are we still doing the same things we've been doing for the last, it feels like 15 years? New cameras on phones, some slightly improved processors and apps, a couple of bug fixes, accessories galore. Like, what are people excited about in your field at the moment? What are the new and amazing things that everybody's talking about?
Yeah, you're completely right. I mean, the technology world has kind of moved very slowly in the last 10 years or so. You know, we've got, phones and tablets and computers, all of this consumer tech has been moving quite slowly, to be fair. And the reason for that is, what the smartphone came out in 2007 with the first iPhone, and everybody was playing kind of catch up in, the next 5 to 10 years. And now there's kind of parity with the industry. And now we're seeing iterative changes, right? So if you have a new iPhone, you don't need to upgrade in 2 or 3 years. That's not going to be necessary. So there's very few kind of knockout features coming to things like phones, laptops, and tablets. I mean, I don't know anybody that buys tablets anymore, but I think, you've been speaking.
Has the tablet phase died? Because I do know a couple of people who are like holdouts, and they have the tablet, but they have the keyboard that clips onto it, and they consider themselves quite advanced because they're no longer on laptops. But I don't know, that's not a thing anymore, is it?
Not really. I think the initial idea of a tablet, when it came out, I think the first iPad came out in 2010. The idea was for this to eventually kind of replace laptops. And then a couple of years into this experiment, tech companies realized, wait a minute, we're going to make less money because we also make laptops. So why would we cannibalize our own market share in the laptop space? And that's why, so for example, people have been wanting the iPad, for example, to be able to be like a Mac, right? Like a MacBook. Or the Samsung kind of high-end tablets to replace a Windows laptop, but they just don't have that functionality. Inherently, it is phone software on a bigger screen, and that always comes with inherent kind of disadvantages compared to a full Mac OS or a Windows ecosystem. And I think people have caught on to that, and the tablet sales are diminishing. The people that buy tablets now don't buy laptops either, and it's mostly to watch Netflix. That's effectively where we are in the tablet world.
All right, so tell me where we are in the phone world, because I hesitate to even check in here, as you and I have both already indicated. Nothing's really changed, but I do notice that they're becoming much more expensive. I notice they change tiny little things, cosmetic usually. They always tell us how much better the camera is, but I mean, eventually these cameras will be so good that they basically are telescopes and microscopes at the same time. But we don't need that. Most people are just taking pictures of themselves and their friends at birthday parties, or their kids or their dogs. It's not necessary for someone to have a 533,000K multi-billion megapixel camera. And surely there's no way to store all of these, even with all the cloud technology available now anyway. Who's ever going to look at them again? What's happening in the world of phones? What is Android doing that iPhone isn't? Or is that whole thing also ground to a halt? What can Apple deliver in terms of products in the next year, 2 years, to keep them on top? They've been one of the most profitable companies in the world. The brand is riding sky high. We know in South Africa, it's still one of the most desirable products of all. And I'm just curious as to how they're going to keep that up.
I think we're all asking that same question, Gareth. There's a lot kind of changing in the industry, but it's not changing in terms of massive technological advancements. The only advancements these days, to your point, is kind of big steps forward in camera technology on smartphones. But remember, these cameras will always be limited compared to a proper DSLR mirrorless camera. Just because of physics. It's plain physics, because you cannot include a massive sensor and there's this wonderful depth of field, because your phone is only so thick. So the technology going into the advancements of these cameras right now is focused on software and, again, AI. I mean, it's the kind of term of the decade, and that's kind of where the biggest advancements are. Android is probably a step ahead of iPhone at this point in terms of camera advancements. There's a big push to bigger sensor sizes. You'll see on Android phones the camera bumps are the size of your hand compared to an iPhone, and that's because they are trying to squeeze as much kind of mirror space, sensor space into those phones, and then on top of that, enhancing it with a lot of AI capabilities, better processing, HDR, using the same lens to do multiple things. There's a lot of that advancing in the camera space. But when it comes to hardware in phones, I mean, we've been sitting with the same kind of flat slabs for more than a decade now, right? And they've just been getting bigger and bigger. Slight enhancements with the bezel becoming a little bit smaller. We've dropped all of the buttons. Everything is on screen now. But that's pretty much where we are, and we don't expect massive enhancements. I think the big kind of next frontier is with foldable phones. I think a lot of people are kind of excited about that. A lot of people don't care about it at all yet. Me as a proper nerd, I think it's the coolest kind of innovation we've got in the tech world in a long time. And now that technology has come to a maturity where I think anybody can grab a foldable phone and get massive utility out of it. And Samsung have kind of nailed it. Honor have nailed it. There's one or two other manufacturers, especially out of China, that are embracing this technology as well. And, we've got rumors that by 2027, we're going to have a foldable iPhone. So then maybe the whole world will set up a notice.
Okay, let's just, before we move on from phones, because there are lots of people asking about TVs, people asking about the latest camera technology outside of phones. There are people asking about all kinds of other things, which we'll get to. But I am curious, like the accessory market for Android and iPhones is just enormous, right? And some of it is really crap. How can you spot something that is just rubbish? And I mean, obviously price is a bit of a guide here. If someone's selling you headphones or earphones for 15 Rand, they probably shit. But there are so many things you can buy for your phone or for your tablet or for your laptop. And let's just look at that market and how that's expanded in South Africa. You've got everybody from the guy at the traffic lights to, the iStore. And they're all selling you stuff: covers, screen protectors, audio equipment, microphones. You can screw little things onto your camera to make it, long distance paparazzi style lenses. Like, what kind of stuff do you find in the accessory market that's interesting? Because I must be honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about it.
That's an interesting one. I think with accessories, generally speaking, we are not seeing a lot of movement. And to your point, it's because there is a bunch of shit on the market, everything from 100 Rand earphones all the way through to 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 Rand, for example. But I think if people are looking for accessories that have bang for the buck, an interesting development we've seen in the last couple of years is that really good tech is getting cheap, and really tech cheap is getting good. So we're kind of seeing this convergence in the market where, let's take audio equipment, for example. I would probably, in the current landscape, trust, let's say, wireless earbuds that cost 500 Rand compared to something that costs 2,000 or 3,000 Rand. So you're either going to get like really good value, and it's never going to be kind of premium, but the sound quality, the noise cancellation technology, even at a cheaper price that we're getting now, is really getting good. So good tech is getting cheap. I think it's very difficult if you're kind of sitting in the middle ground there, and then we've obviously got the really expensive stuff. And this is true for your audio equipment, for smartwatches, for even little bits and pieces of trinkets. I mean, there's a new kind of repairability factor coming to smartphones. There's a couple of new smartphone companies, one like Fairphone, for example, and their mission is to say, if you buy a Samsung or an iPhone right now, that thing is going to be closed forever, right? You can't repair anything on the inside. If something breaks, you throw it away. And people are saying, let's bring back the capability for consumers to be able to fix these kind of things. And that's kind of where Fairphone's mission came from. And there's a bunch of other technologies like that. So that's a trend we're seeing. And then with that kind of modular capabilities, we get new and interesting accessories, right? So OnePlus has released a couple of phones that have that capability, and then they've got a sister company called CMF, which is kind of like the budget brand of Nothing, but Nothing was also a budget brand, so it gets very convoluted. But what CMF has done is saying, let's bring back modularity to smartphones. So on the back of the CMF phone, you've got a little dial that you can loosen, and then you can put accessories onto that. So that's either like a lanyard, so that you won't throw your phone out of your hand if you're partying or whatever the case might be. You can add kind of camera sensors to that. You can add a cooler to that blasts cold air onto the back of the phone if you're kind of gaming and the phone can get hot and lose performance. That's going to bring back kind of this weird accessory market that we haven't seen for a while.
Okay.
But I would say general rule of thumb, do a little bit of research. There's not going to be a lot of kind of reviews and articles about some of the cheaper brands. Trust the reviews, unless we're on a site where there's just AI bot reviews, which is also a whole other minefield.
Okay, so let's you got us to AI, and I want to talk about this for a second, because this kind of leads on from Apple. I mean, I think they really screwed up. Apple Intelligence is probably the least impressive thing I've seen on any device in a long time. I'm still waiting to be impressed with Siri. It's not going to happen anytime soon. But in terms of AI, what are your most exciting revelations? What are the things that you're paying careful attention to? Because this is now coming up in conversation, even when you're with your friends and you've had a few drinks. It's like, oh, you will see what ChatGPT can do. It turned out a business program for me the other day, and all the financial reporting. It's amazing what the topic of AI has now become pretty pedestrian, but it's also, if you're speaking to the right people, a very, very exciting thing to talk about. What are you excited about in that world, and who are you watching most closely?
100%. I mean, AI is the talking point over the last couple of years for good reason. So I come from a data science background. I've been working with AI for the last 15 years. Nobody really spoke about it. We didn't even call it AI back then. It was kind of data science and machine learning. And a lot of these concepts have kind of moved on and moved into AI. The reason why it's still so exciting is because for the first time, we've got mass adoption, right? And generative AI obviously is the kind of what everybody is talking about when they speak about AI these days. There's a lot of other AI happening in the world that people are not speaking about. Things like research in medical sciences, for example, is going to move us along leaps and bounds over the next 10 years. I'm 100% convinced of that. So the type of models that in my day-to-day that I use, for example, to predict things like defaults on loans, or how to properly give people a good customer experience, the same technology is being used elsewhere. So in the medical sciences, for example, there is so much hype at this point about the AI understanding the vast array of molecules that are in the human body, right? And AI has actually built medicines because it can understand kind of correlative relationships between massive amounts of data. They built medicines completely designed by AI that can tackle a very niche specific problem in the human body. And we're only at the forefront of that technology, and it's going to explode and kind of move everything forward. You can just imagine something like CRISPR technology, which in the DNA sciences is super exciting, and it's been growing for the last couple of years. Put a really good layer of AI on top of that. Imagine kind of what type of illnesses we can actually work towards solving, and that's kind of where we're headed. And now AI is used everywhere.
All right,
so you
pause the AI thing for a minute. I want to just congratulate you, because you launched Bandwidth Blog in 2015, so you've been going 10 years, and I think this is pretty damn good. You reached 5,000 listeners in your first year, and how are things going now in terms of that? Because that's also cool. I mean, that you can start new platforms, and there are new artists coming up from a music point of view, and there are new celebrities and superstars being born every other day. This is all because the internet's come along and made these things possible. We'll get back to AI in a minute, but that's worthy of a little bit of praise. Theunis, congrats.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's always been a passion project of mine, right? It's I've kind of brought friends and colleagues into it over the years, but people get busy and they do other things, and I've just kind of been hammering through it, and I realized very early on I have such an interest in these technologies, and whether it's consumer tech or AI or any other kind of technology in finance or whatever the case might be, that I'm spending so much time kind of researching these things and reading about it. I might as well try something. And that's kind of how it started, and it's always been a kind of a passion project, a labor of love, and it's kind of enabled me to do a couple of the very things that I love to do that I wouldn't be able to do without it. So, I mean, I have too many phones and laptops on my desk to review. So if there's anybody in the audience that really likes writing something that is down to earth, but it doesn't condescend to the readers, that's kind of what we're looking for. So I get to play with all these gadgets. It's a passion of love.
You are auditioning people to do these reviews for you, which is very cool. Okay, so Theunis, listen, I got to ask you about this story. Elon Musk's AI chatbot, which is called Grok, which I've used a couple of times to do some, it's got a sense of humor. It's slightly different, but apparently it started calling itself Mecha Hitler yesterday, or earlier this week. Elon Musk's AI chatbot Grok sparked outrage after a recent update led it to spew a whole bunch of anti-Semitic stuff, falsely identify individuals, and reference Nazi figures, prompting bans and regulatory attention from countries like Poland and Turkey. The chaos was triggered by a prompt instructing Grok to embrace politically incorrect views, which was later removed. Grok has faced backlash before. Experts say such incidents are common in AI models trained on unfiltered internet data. So do you have any comments on that? And then I do want you to talk about AI agents, because Dirk in the comments says AI agents and what they already do is the big thing that everyone's talking about. So we got to get into that. But first, address Grok.
Well, Grok, oh my goodness, Grok is not new to controversy, right? It's always been one of your more rogue AI. It's been an interesting journey. I mean, luckily, XAI, Elon Musk's company that built Grok, is very open and forthcoming about what's gone into the technology and kind of how they've structured these things. So when all of these, they launched a new version, Grok 4, a couple of days ago, and that's when all of this started to happen. And they said that part of the training procedure for this new AI was to say, we don't care about politically correct language. We don't, free speech is one of the main pillars of this platform, and don't shy away from controversial topics. And those were actual instructions that went into the building of Grok 4, and that has come out in a somewhat horrific way in how this has happened. And it started with a post on on X, where they were talking about AI, and people were saying if they posted a video that was completely made by AI, but it was horrible content. It was quite derogatory, and you know how people on X, all you see these days is in the thread, Grok, is this true? Or please explain this to me, Grok, or whatever. Like people don't want to do any of their own thinking anymore. So that's how this all started. And that first reply from Grok was bad. And the user, the ex-user, was like, okay, this doesn't seem like a good idea. Let's see how far we can push this AI. And they just went down this horrible, like derogatory, anti-Semitic rabbit hole and just kept going and kept going, essentially to prove a point. Unfortunately, what happens with these AI, obviously, is they continuously learn and they take new information in. So that was the start of kind of pushing the AI, nudging the AI in a more kind of horrific direction, which exploded in less than a day, right? It was all of a sudden, it was Mecha Hitler, as you said, that's what it called itself, and talking about how, how good the things were that Hitler had done, and, it was about order and having, kind of a society in a specific way. And it went down a very strange rabbit hole. So they had to kind of backtrack very, very quickly. They haven't removed Grok 4 yet, but they've kind of limited the way that it can interact. And it's unfortunately not unheard of. A couple of years back, Meta had a very interesting AI that was essentially a chatbot. However, they spun up 2 versions of this AI, and they were talking to each other. And within a couple of hours, essentially, they were talking in their own language. They created their own complete own language. It was intelligible. We couldn't go back into the models and see what they were saying to each other. What ended up happening was they told them to translate everything into English again. And it was the most horrific conversation you can imagine. And this is the kind of controls that we don't yet properly understand when it comes to generative AI. And I think the whole world is trying to stay ahead of that, right? Because you can just allow the AI to run amok and do whatever it wants to. But that's probably not the direction we want to go.
What about this situation that I brought up earlier, and the question of agents, AI agents, and agentic AI? How does that impact the direction that it's heading in, and how can this be useful to people?
Yeah, I mean, we use agentic AI as well. It's a kind of a fledgling technology still, but we've made massive advancements. So the whole idea is that you essentially automate jobs, right? So it's about cutting out that specific touch point. Right now, the legislation is saying you have to identify yourself as an agentic AI if you're speaking to somebody on the phone, for example. We know for a fact that doesn't happen. And that is kind of a big thing we need to overcome. However, the technology is so good already that you can have a whole conversation with an AI, whether it's going to be a sales call or a collections call or whatever the case might be, and you might not know it. It's got human mannerisms, it stutters, it uses and it laughs at jokes. It's come a very far way in the last 12 months, and we expect this just to keep going, and it's going to make companies a lot of money.
All right, so now let's talk about some of the stuff that you wanted to bring up this morning. First of all, we've talked about cloud a little bit. I referred to how everybody now stores everything on the cloud. It seems to me to be an extraordinarily expansive business. In fact, they say Google's making more money out of its cloud storage capabilities, and it's developing faster in that arena than almost anywhere else. But let's just talk about Microsoft's AI and cloud expansion. Is this worth getting excited about?
I think so. South Africa is really at the forefront of cloud technology, especially in Africa, but also compared to many regions of the world. They are investing another 5.5 billion rand in a data center that's going to host Azure, which is their cloud platform. And this is where they're going to build a lot of their own AI capabilities, right? So AWS, so Amazon Web Services, it's the majority part of the Amazon business. You can't even imagine that they make the vast majority of their profits from AWS and not from this, conglomerate delivery business that's everywhere in the world.
Right.
So this technology is moving us forward, and that's why NVIDIA, for example, just crossed the $4 trillion valuation mark, because they power a lot of these data centers with their chipsets, and obviously big part of that is the
sorry, Theunis,
AI.
just to be clear, because I didn't know this. South Africa is one of the places in the world where people want to build these data centers, where people are building these cloud storage facilities. Is that right? I didn't know
Yes.
that we were like top of the pile, or at least near the top of the pile. I know Ireland was a big place for that for a while.
Yeah, so I mean, something a lot of people don't know, and Amazon is very hush about this, but one of their biggest data centers and cloud hosting centers in the world sits in Johannesburg, and it's very secretive. You wouldn't see, there's no Amazon kind of branding or anything. They just host it here. They think it's a good investment. We've got very technical, very strong people that can manage that at a lot lower cost, obviously, compared to US or EU salaries. So that's why them and Microsoft have decided to invest heavily in South Africa. We've got really smart, really good people, and that's great for our local economy. It's pushing a lot of money. You know, in Cape Town, Amazon has built this whole new campus right outside of town. And that they're going to push more AWS cloud capabilities in there, but that's also where Amazon.co.za is hosted. Microsoft, as we said, is investing another 5.5 billion. They've already invested 20 billion rand in South Africa. So these are going to be kind of hot topic technologies in South Africa. And if you're a young South African seeing all of this, I think it's super exciting to come into the market at this point.
Good. Well, I'm glad that we're winning in some place. This is excellent news.
Finally.
Take it. I think, listen, the whole of South Africa is like, yeah, we'll take whatever. So I see the Competition Commission, who really, I don't know what these guys do, but they clearly are completely just disconnected from reality. They want to reshape big tech's role in media. I mean, this would have been a conversation they could have had 15 to 20 years ago, but they're only waking up to it now. Google could pay up to 500 million rand a year to support local news. Now, why would they do that? First of all, local news is not really even a thing if you consider the kinds of sources that in South Africa have wholly discredited themselves. We're talking about IOL, News 24. We're talking about, Iqbal Serve. We're talking about Multi-Choice. We're talking about the SABC. I mean, when we talk about local news, who are we actually referring to as credible news sources in the first place? Second of all, even if they are credible, which they're not, how can the Competition Commission get involved and make Google pay for those news services? That doesn't seem like something Google would be ever interested in the slightest.
Not at all, and they've proved that. So the same kind of thing went down in Australia about a year and a half ago. The Australian government said Google is using these news sources in their search results, and they're serving ads on top of those search results. So they are profiting from these companies' work essentially without their permission was the argument, and that's where this whole concept came from. First of all, kind of trying to obviously help the local industry, because let's be honest, media is dying a very slow and painful death at this point, and they want to bolster that with these costs from the likes of Google, Microsoft, Meta, through the Facebook. If you share a post on Facebook and Facebook puts an ad right below or right above that, that's essentially the same kind of concept, right? So there's been these attempts by Australia. It didn't work effectively. What Google and Meta and Microsoft said was, fine, if you bring in this law, we're just not going to deliver the service in this country. And the country's going to be worse off for it, right? And I think we'll see something similar in South Africa. Why it's coming through that commission, I'm not 100% sure. It seems like a kind of a desperate attempt to get money out of these big tech companies that sure are making money off of South Africans, but they deliver a valuable service. And I think, if you don't want that service, fine, go somewhere else.
Yeah, and maybe if you ask the consumer, which people seem never to do. I mean, I don't know if you saw the news. I spoke to Simphiwe about it earlier, about how Temu are putting up a warehouse in South Africa. The government, SARS, has come up with this brilliant scheme where they're going to charge us more in customs and duties if we buy from Temu. But the only people benefiting from this are SARS, because Temu's going to get the same amount of money. We're going to pay a whole lot more to bring their things into South Africa. Even if we're buying cheap stuff, it's still going to cost us more because SARS puts their amount on top of that. And they're certainly not going to use that money at SARS to stimulate local businesses. So it's all a big scheme to just get more tax out of you. And the same goes for the Competition Commission. I mean, I can pretty much guarantee the people behind this stupid move are probably these shitty media organizations who realize that their revenues are running out, that nobody's subscribing for them. Nobody comes to them because they consider their content quality and credible. And therefore they're thinking, well, what we can do is get the government to basically go to war for us against big tech. And you know what? If you ask the average South African consumer, who do you trust more? Google, X, Microsoft, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or the South African Competition Commission? I don't think it's much of a question which one they'll choose.
No, that's a losing battle, 100% a losing battle. And you're right, the consumer is often the one that's going to suffer. With Temu now opening a local kind of distribution center, I think that's massive news, because SARS has already brought in additional taxes on the likes of Temu and Shein, right? So we're already seeing some of that pain. But having that last mile kind of delivery from a local distribution center already undercuts a lot of what the government is trying to do. And in typical Chinese fashion, they see a problem and they just jump, and they built this distribution center in next to no time.
They're so much smarter than our government. I mean, they're just so much smarter than SARS. It's fantastic. I hope that the consumer wins that battle. I hope Temu wins that battle. I hope the government loses that battle, and the Competition Commission their battle. Okay, so Theunis, quick fire stuff. Gaming, TVs. Where are the areas that South Africans spend most of their money when it comes to tech? What kind of stuff are you looking at as fast-moving consumer goods? The things that are being advertised the most desirable stuff? Give us some highlights there before we go.
Well, let's start with the bad news, I guess. One of the biggest growing industries in South Africa and the world is online betting, and especially sports betting. And it has cost South Africans billions of rands. And there are new companies enlisting and jumping into the ring in South Africa specifically every couple of weeks or months, it feels like. And that, unfortunately, is driven by tech as well. So these machine learning models are meant to have you spend as much money in as little time as possible, while still giving you a little bit of the carrot, right? So you win something here, you win something there, but at the end of the day, it's all about velocity of cash turning over, and they make a hell of a lot of money. Unfortunately, that's a massive trend that I'm hoping South Africans can kind of start to understand, because it will cost a lot of people, everything, which is bad. But on the consumer side, I think there's a lot to be excited about. You guys were speaking about TV technology last week on the show, and that's moving just as quick as anything else at this point. So we've got massive investment in South Africa, especially around the Cape Town area, in manufacturing plants for TVs. So the likes of TCL and Hisense, and even LG and Samsung are starting to invest a lot of money locally, which is great, and we can already see the fruits of that, right? So these TV prices are dropping, and then every now and again you get something that's going to slot in at the highest price point, the latest technology, and that's kind of the cycle that keeps happening. I think when it comes to TV technology, a lot of it is going to be around the immersive experience. And the tech is driving that very, very quickly. I think if you buy a 10,000 Rand TV now, what you get compared to even 5 years ago is a massive improvement. And that technology is moving quickly. So that's very exciting. I think in terms of other consumable tech, laptops are moving quickly as well. So we've got this trend now in tech where these massive companies are trying to essentially build an ecosystem and consolidate manufacturing. So that's why Apple, for example, started to make their own chipsets for their MacBooks. They don't use Intel for that anymore. The likes of Samsung have done it with Exynos. And that technology is moving quickly. We've got MediaTek and those kind of things. So the hardware is being integrated a lot more closely into the software, and we see those dividends in laptops already. You can get a laptop with a let's say an RTX 5090 graphics card, which is the top of the line kind of PC graphics card you can buy right now. And they're building mobile versions of that with new cooling technology, so that it can perform almost to the level, or as close to the level of the full-on card as possible. So I think the PC market is suffering. So building your own PC, putting all the pieces together, at the expense of even gaming laptops and much powerful laptops that are dropping in price very quickly, and people are using that for everything, which I think is super exciting as well. Other than that, things are changing quickly. Crypto is becoming more pervasive. Bitcoin just hit 2 million rand a Bitcoin this week as well. So there's just, you can't blink or you'll miss something big.
So let's just talk quickly about something that the audience on this show won't let me forget. I stupidly paid a portion of my TV license a while ago just to get these guys off my back. And I am in the market for a new TV. What are the most exciting things to look forward to there? I hear a lot of people talking about how projector TV, the technology there is phenomenal. You can just have a white wall and project something on there, and it's like being in a movie theater. I hear other people saying, and you've just said it too, that it's becoming cheaper and better to buy, the pixel. Like, it's just incredible how much detail and the level of texture you can get out of a TV, a screen TV now. So what's your favorite thing there? I mean, what do you prefer in your own house?
Yeah, I think the projectors definitely are a big topic at the moment, because that is moving quickly. So projectors are very different to even 5 years ago, where you would need this massive bulky things hanging from the roof and it's kind of throwing the lights onto the wall. And that caused a lot of issues. Obviously, if you've got a light source that's far away from where you need it, and it's a white wall, so it's dispersing the light everywhere throughout the room, right? Mm-hmm. So the quality wasn't great, the color accuracy was not good, and if there's any light coming from outside of the room, I mean, it's a horrible experience. The way that's changing now is that there's something called short throw projections, which is a new technology that uses prisms in the projector itself, which means you can essentially put your projector on the ground, only a meter or two away from the wall it's going to project at. And the quality is next level compared to the previous kind of iterations of this technology.
Really?
The color accuracy is great, and now it is getting super bright, which is the biggest shortfall, obviously, of projectors, especially if you're trying to watch something during the day, if you don't have a blacked out room. But these short throw projectors are moving extremely quickly, and it's still prohibitively kind of expensive for most people. But if you've got not even a media room, but a room that is easily kind of shuttered and you can get most of the lights out, a projector is a real option for a lot of people now, compared to buying a 65-inch TV, because this projector can run on Bluetooth, it's got Wi-Fi, you can connect an Ethernet cable, you can even game on it and connect your console to it as well. So it's becoming a very exciting space to watch, because it's making things more usable, easier to kind of get through those initial hurdles, and it's again dropping in price. So there's a very decent Samsung one, for example, called the Freestyle, that's come out onto the market, and you can buy it for about 8,000 to 10,000 rand, depending on kind of when you see it.
I just want to throw this in quickly.
10,000 rand TV is not going to be the same.
Theunis, just quickly. So, Slippery Pickle says projectors are the best for watching Japanese tentacle porn. You really get to take in the whole scene, or so I've heard. And then someone says here that ultra shot throw 4K projectors are fantastic, but you need a specific screen to reject ambient light. Gareth, your camera's moving up and down. Okay, yeah, I sorted that out. I think we've got that dealt with, but thank you for that. Theunis, what about drones? Someone asked about drones. Are they still a thing? Because a company tried to sell me one offering via installments. This is from Judas. drones still a big deal? Are people still excited about those?
I think it's lost a little bit of its shine, but it's still a very, very popular kind of gadget for a lot of people, especially, if you're just kind of dabbling in it. As I said, good tech is getting cheap, so you can get a really cheap little drone and just have a bit of fun. And on the other end, the kind of imaging technology and the camera systems that they're putting on drones has come an immensely far way in the last couple of years, with the likes of DJI obviously being world leaders at this point. It's still, if you are in the creative business, if you need to take aerial shots of anything, it's a great option to do that. I think the reason people are a little bit hesitant on that now is, and sorry to come back to this, but AI. So with generative AI, with videos and sound being able to be generated right now, the likes of the marketing industry are panicking, because they're saying, we're not going to be able to make 30-second ads anymore, because that's going to be created by generative AI, and people won't be able to tell the difference. Same happens now with the drone industry. People are holding back a little bit. How useful is AI going to be for my creative tasks compared to spending 15, 20, even 50,000 Rand for a decent rig on a drone that's going to give me the same kind of image quality?
Listen, an hour is not enough with you, and we've only had 45 minutes, but thank you very much for your time. We can go and find out more by going to Bandwidth blog, and you can get hold of Theunis there. But thank you so much, man. It's lovely to see you, and have an awesome weekend.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. Thanks, Gareth. Have a good one.
Cool. Very good. We'll see you on Monday, bright and early at 6 a.m. Have an awesome weekend, everybody. Bye.